Hey everyone, and welcome to another Salt Project Community Open Hour. I am Chunga. I am the Salt Project Community Manager, and glad to have you with us here for another round of Open Hour. Let's see. Am I sharing my screen? Can you see my screen? No, you can't. Let's try it again. Let's try it again. This is a dance we do every single Open Hour. It's trying to get my Zoom share to work. Let's try it one more time. Barney, good to see you, man. Kind of. Good to know you're here, I guess. All righty. Can everybody see my screen now? Yeah? We're good?
Yes.
Yay, success. We've achieved success. Kind of remove some stuff here. All right. Salt Project Community Open Hour is officially underway. Thank you, Zoom. Here's where you can find us. Here's where you can find Salt Project. We're I dare say, ubiquitous. We're on YouTube. We're on GitHub, of course, GitHub, Slack, Reddit, LinkedIn, the Hacks podcast with Salt creator Tom Hatch and myself. Also, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and are we coming to Threads? I don't know. Should we go to Threads? You guys tell me. What about Mastodon? Should we go to Mastodon? I'm hearing some reports about that. We can definitely do that if you're interested as well. Let me know. Let's see here. Here's what we're talking about today. We've got our general updates. We've got some. It's a way of life nowadays. We've got some Salt CVEs to talk about. The Salt Project thing. We'll talk about that, and then we'll check in with our community forums with Thomas Phipps, live from Las Vegas. Thomas Phipps. We'll be checking in with him. And then this is a treat. I'm excited about this from EITR Technologies. He's right there in the Zoom feed, beard and all, looking mighty and terrible. It's our good friend, Nicholas Hughes. He's going to be giving us a demo on the Prometheus Salt extension, and then we'll answer all of your questions. So let's get to it, shall we? Open hour every first and third Thursday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's 11 a.m. to noon Mountain time, and then you can just kind of do the math and work east. Our next Salt Project Community Open Hour will be on September 6th. So this is a thing that kind of bites us every couple of months. We have an odd Thursday in there that kind of changes the every other week cadence. So again, we're going to have a week off here in between this open hour and September 6th. So please make a note of that. We'd also, while you're waiting for our next open hour, we'd like to encourage you to join a Salt Project working group. You can check out all our active working groups right now at saltproject.io/working groups. We'd love to have you involved, and more new working groups will be coming your way soon. All right, let's get right to it, shall we? Take action. We need you to take action. If you're a Salt user, if you're watching this on YouTube and you have yet to do so, please take a moment, head over to saltproject.io and take a look at this blog post. It's in the security releases, security notifications drop downs. Some vulnerabilities have been discovered in Salt 3006.1 and earlier. The Salt Project released a security update for Salt to address two vulnerabilities with a severity rating, or a SEV rating, as I like to say, of medium. We highly recommend prioritizing this update. Again, if you want to learn more, you can go to saltproject.io, or you can just go download the updated packages at repo.saltproject.io. And if you have any further questions, you can always hit us in the Salt Project Slack channel, and there will be a small army of people there to help you out, I'm sure. The Salt Project thing is getting closer and closer and closer to having a date announced. This is going to be happening. We are shooting for the fall, sometime, most likely third week of October. Now, that is not official. That is not the final date. That's just what our target is. It's going to be a one-day virtual online event, completely free. We're going to have breakout sessions, tutorials, lots of networking with other Salt Project users. We're going to have some contests and much, much more. We're very excited about this. It is the Salt Project thing coming your way this fall. Please make a note of it. Registration, getting all of the emails and everything else that you want to get. We're going to have information about that coming ASAP. Pretty excited about the Salt Project thing. All right, let's send it over to Thomas Phipps in Las Vegas to check in with our community forums. Thomas.
Actually a pretty simple one, but one that kind of highlights a feature not many people actually know is in Salt. A user came in asking, hey, how do I run this command within an IP space like IP, VFR, execute? And the answer, the general answer everybody was giving is you'll probably have to edit the packages, which is not correct. The actual answer is there is a feature called Executors. You're still going to have to write one for this, but it's for things like if you're running your salt minion as non-root, it can run sudo. It also lets you run splay, but it basically lets you run salt within namespaces. It's a really powerful feature that not a lot of people know about. One of the ones that's actually built is called splay, and it basically tells a minion, yeah, just randomly tack on a sleep in front of any command. And when you run it against a whole bunch of minions, it lets them randomly select when they'll go so that they don't overload the master when they're responding and things like that. I just gave an example other than sudo. Another example would be a direct call, which is actually the default, which is just run it as is. There's a transitional update, which I don't actually know what that one is. Oh, it looks like it actually tries.
Hey,
Oh,
Thomas,
try to.
is this something we'd want to share your screen for people to see? We can do that if that's preferred.
Let me move it over here. I was actually just looking at the code for transactional update.
Oh, I got you. I got you. Okay.
Yeah, it just runs a state within a transaction. Interesting. But yeah, there's actually one for Docker as well, for running things executed through Docker. But I usually use the sudo one as an example because the code for it actually shows how to run sudo dash dash and then salt call. So and most of these need to be written. So, because everybody's use case is different, so everybody's going to need a different style of version. But what can be done with it is open to your imagination.
And it looks like the possibilities are kind of endless there based on what you're saying.
Yeah, it's basically run salt call within this context.
Huh. Cool. All right. Anything else we need to know?
No.
All right. Very good. I believe it's time, if I'm not mistaken. Then thank you, Thomas. I like to call him all reliable because he's here every week, every single open hour to check in with the community forums. Now, this is exciting. I don't know. I've known Nick for years. EITR Technology, CEO, by the way. I don't know that he's ever done a demo in open hour before. Is this a first, Nick, for you?
I think it might be.
As a former Salt Project community champion, I would assume that that's been the case. But yeah, I think this is probably a first. So let's send it over to him. The time is yours, sir. Would you like to share the screen?
Yeah, let's go ahead and
All right.
Share. All right, you should be seeing a screen.
Yeah, we see it. Looks great.
Awesome. So I think it was a couple of open hours ago, might have been Gareth, that gave us a brief overview of salt extensions, right? So salt extensions allow us to take pieces of what is currently in the salt code base and move it out as its own repository and sort of plugin, if you will. Also allows us to develop new plugins for Salt that don't have to live inside of the core. And that allows us to iterate on the code faster and sort of maintain it outside of the confines of the core itself. So as it stands right now, I think there are going to be some extensions that are community maintained and some that are core team maintained. And what that list looks like will probably be shaping up over the next few months or so. But one of the ones that was probably the first real brand new from scratch extension, because it never lived inside of the Salt core, is the Prometheus extension. And so essentially what the Prometheus extension allows us to do is group Prometheus related modules into this code base and install that and manage it as a separate plugin. For those not familiar with Prometheus, it's a pretty popular monitoring metrics tool. And so this was actually developed as part of a collaboration with one of my customers. And if you click on the documentation link in the repository, it should bring you to read the docs here, where right now we have a placeholder for an engine module, but that has not actually been created yet. So all we have right now is actually this Prometheus text file returner, which allows you to output a metrics file to the file system that then can be read in by node exporter, which basically reports metrics from a system to Prometheus. So normally that might include like CPU and memory usage and things like that. It can read in this separate file that's created as part of the returner process in order to have Salt specific metrics sent to the same system that aggregates all of your other monitoring and metrics. So at that documentation page, you'll see a lot of different configuration options that I'm not really going to go through today unless anybody has specific questions. But essentially what the output of that becomes is down below here, I show the configuration file that I set up to just get the basics of what we see here into the system. We have some Prometheus text file configuration parameters that we can pass in via miniconfig. We have the returner set up to the Prometheus text file returner that is part of the Prometheus extension. And then we have a scheduled job that just runs this dummy state every 15 minutes. And so when that information is gathered up, we can create dashboards in Grafana, like I have shown up here on the top. So you can see things like, hey, how many minions are in my environment right now? Like if you wanted to use that as a status or trend line or something like that. You can see that I have all of my systems here on this graph, and they're all in this bottom line, except for this yellow guy here that is minion 2. It has one state failure, and I have a threshold just below that. So once something comes up and has state failures, we can get an alert, we can investigate it. Basically the sky's the limit. Grafana and Prometheus are very powerful tools. We can show Salt versions. So, we could see, do we have any old Salt versions within our environment that need to be upgraded? Chunga brought up the CVEs and the fact that we should be upgrading. We could use a tool like this to see inside of our normal monitoring metrics environment, what things we should be looking at in order to upgrade those minions and keep them in line with all the CVs that are out there. Other interesting things that might be part of the metrics, lapse time. So you can see that usually we run around the same amount of total elapsed time for that dummy state, but we had some long time frames here, or longer than normal, on Minion 3. So that might be something, if somebody has extra time, maybe they can correlate this against like CPU and memory usage on that particular system. Maybe something was happening on that system during that time frame. And if it happens consistently, maybe it's worth checking out. So really, this just gives us the ability to jam those salt-specific metrics into the same format that we would expect to see our normal monitoring metrics, and create pretty graphs and things like that in order to visualize all that information. And so I think we're on the threshold of Q&A anyway. So if there are any questions that need answering in regard to this, happy to do so now.
Very cool, Nick. Thanks for the demo. Yeah, let's have some questions. Any questions for Nick? We're heading into Q&A. No question.
It creates a text file, and then somewhere you upload that every 15 minutes. Is that what that schedule does?
So the other part of this is the Prometheus and Grafana setup itself, right? So our system is set up in Salt such that it runs a state apply for this dummy state. It could be like a high state or anything else that you care to do on some interval. And that's kind of where it stops, right? The returner writes this text file. Then we pick up the other parts of the infrastructure, which is Node Exporter, which is part of the Prometheus ecosystem, resides on the same system. It picks up that text file, reads it, sends the metrics back to the Prometheus infrastructure. And then Grafana reads all of that information out of Prometheus and allows you to do pretty pictures like this.
Okay, so the Salt extension is just dumping a certain expected format into a text file that is later ingested by an agent running on the machine.
Correct. And
Okay.
When we go down the road of an engine, we have a prototype of that with my customer, but we haven't open sourced it yet. Essentially, what it will provide is Prometheus generally works on like a scraping principle, where it expects to reach out and hit really lightweight API endpoints that, if you were to just look at them, are basically the same format as the text files that we're writing out. And so an engine would provide that API as just like a constantly updating web page with the metrics of the system or whatever, that could be then scraped by Prometheus.
So this is basically customizable. You could use it for customizable telemetry then.
Absolutely.
Would something like this be conceptually portable to other monitoring systems, like say Zabbix or something?
Conceptually, yes.
Does this all occur on the master, or is this per minion?
This is per minion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really cool.
How do you avoid duplicates? Does it just wipe the file after it uploads, or?
Yeah. So I don't know exactly how it's keeping track of it, but it might be registering with the inodes or hashing it or something like that, and only reading it when it updates. But there's also timestamps, I believe, inside that file. It's been a little bit since I took a look at one. We could.
Does it get huge?
No, it will not append. So let's see here. believe there's timestamps in here. Maybe that's just in regard to the last started time, the last completed time. So all the timestamps that it appends to the information is actually when node exporter is scraping it. So it's just checking to see when this file updates. This is the default location for the file, by the way. You can change the configuration to put it wherever you'd like. A lot of people consolidate all of their external exposition text file formats into a single location so that node exporter can just look one place for all of the files.
So it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else for Nick? Jace is clapping his hands. Let's give Nick a round of applause, shall we? Well done. Well done, Nick. EITR Technologies, go check them out. I'm sure they have a website or something. Right, Nick?
Yeah, EITR.tech. Incidentally, we have a bunch of blog articles at our website that are salt related, so they might be interesting to folks.
Yeah, and you also recently did a everything you need to know about salt featurette or a showcase or something like that on a podcast. Tell us about that real quick.
Oh yeah, I was on the Adventures in DevOps podcast. It turns out that one of the folks who hosts that every now and again wanted to get more information about salt for like something related to his job. So he put the call out on social media, and I happened to see it and ended up on that podcast. And so it's basically just like that guy and his fellow co-hosts picking my brain about salt for a while. So might be interesting for folks to listen to as well. It's Adventures in DevOps, put out by Top End Devs.
Cool. From what I hear, I haven't had a chance to check it out yet because I've been on vacation, but from what I hear, it's great. So, and thanks for doing it, man. Thanks for giving us the love. We appreciate it. Okay, so do we have any other questions about anything else that's happening CVE related? Any other questions about what Nick demoed, something from the community forums? Any questions at all?
I've got a couple if we have time.
We definitely do. Go for it, Hunter.
The first is, and I don't know if this is a known issue, on the saltproject.io homepage, the salt install guide is not the new one.
The salt install guide is not the new one.
Yeah, if you go to saltproject.io, under the documentation menu, the salt install guide goes into the doc stack. My understanding was it was supposed to go to that new RelInv based install guide. It's actually kind of hard to find from here.
Okay, duly noted.
It's under download and install, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have two things purporting to be the salt install guide.
Yeah, and if you go to the
download and install salt in that section where it takes you, if you go to download and install salt, now there's something else called the salt install guide, and that is the new one.
Okay, yeah, that's clearly something we've got to sort out. We're making a lot of changes here, Hunter.
Sure. No, I'm just trying to help.
No, thanks for letting me know. This is incredibly helpful. So we'll get with the powers that be, Elisa and others, and we'll get that sorted out. So I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. The other thing that I would suggest as a community member is for the 3006 release notes and the salt install guide, I would have a blurb noting that the GPG signing key for the RPM packages, at least, has changed. That's going to bite a bunch of people doing upgrades. It may be in there. I haven't dug through. I don't see anything in 3006.2, but that's something that you really need to raise awareness of for sysadmins getting ready to switch from 5 to 6. Gotcha.
Because that'll bite us in the butt.
It was
for sure.
it was emphasized in when 3006.0 got released, but maybe we need to keep it around and emphasize it
I would
better for all the dot releases too.
I would request as a user, as an sysadmin, that you keep that around. Is the intent to always have a yearly based GPG signing key?
No,
Is that the plan going forward?
no, it was a case of Red Hat 9 and Ubuntu 22.04 went to OpenSSL version 3, which dropped support for SHA-1. And Fedora 39, I believe, is going to drop support for SHA-1 as well. And so we had to move to a new 256 SHA-256 based key. And when we were doing the major version release, all the older OSs that couldn't support SHA-256 had been end of life, and we thought it was a unique opportunity to update to a SHA-256 across the board for everything at this point moving forward, and hopefully it will stay around for a long time. I mean, the SHA-1 keys lasted pretty much a decade plus.
No, I agree with that reasoning. That's a really good plan. I just didn't know the significance of the 2023 and that whether that was just to
It was
version it.
basic. No, that was basically the year we changed it. So when we go back in 5 or 6 years' time, when did we change it? Oh, 2023.
Perfect. That's the best reasoning to do something like that, but I would request that we keep the notification, hey, our keys changed, before you do an upgrade. And then the only other one was a personal request. Does anybody have a Terraform example for pushing a test salt setup into like AWS or somewhere?
Hunter, while people are looking there, Hunter, do me a favor. Would you hit me on Slack or send me an email at schunga, S is in Sam, Chunga, at VMware.com, and do me a favor, do a quick write-up on these things so that I don't screw it up, and I'll take it, I'll take it to the powers that be and start bird dog and all this stuff for you.
I will. Thank you, sir.
Of course.
I appreciate the time.
Okay, so for
what do you mean by test salt? Like just that pushes
a baby
creates
master and a couple of minions just to be able to test the new versions around.
I see. Okay. Because we have something in our Salt Jenkins, but it just installs a salt.
Okay.
But it doesn't spin up stuff like that.
I was hoping somebody else had one, then I could steal it. I mean, borrow it.
And I also think that
Sorry,
Gareth he's not here today, but we're working on a quick script that will just spin up a temporary little environment. We'll spin up a master and a minion and just let you mess with it.
That would also be useful.
Vagrant is also pretty good for, it's got native support for Salt. And there's lots of examples on how to spin up test masters and minions, and then you can edit the configs right from your desktop as you're playing with them. I often use Vagrant for that type of stuff.
Unfortunately, we've got M1 Max here, and that kind of dynamited the pond for that idea.
Ah.
But I'll look at the doc and see if that inspires me anywhere.
Just an FYI, in the install guide, there is a thing on how to upgrade to Wonder in it, and it does call out about the new GPG key.
Okay.
But obviously it needs to be in bolder type with
Yeah, see, we would have missed that because we're already on Wonder from 3005, and the key upgrade broke one of my Packer builds, and I was like, what, where, why?
Yeah, we had to go to SHA-256 in 3005 for
No, I understand.
And Ubuntu 22.4, and then we just did it across the board, and we went with a new key for 3006 across the board for everything.
I understand.
We'll get Elisa to make that a bigger deal.
I appreciate it. And Chunga, I will follow up with an email.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. We'll get to work right away as soon as I get it. So thanks for the tip off on all this stuff. This is all good stuff. We love to hear it. So thanks, Hunter.
Much appreciated.
Okay, is there anybody else? Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of just small comments. One you
Yeah.
mentioned next open hour September 6th, but September 6th is a Wednesday. I
Oh, is it really? Did we get that
Yeah.
wrong? Okay, then it'd be September 7th then. My apologies. September 7th.
Yeah, and the only other thing was, just following up from, I can't remember if it was my comment from last open hour or the one before, but it looks like DWAS has released a SEP on the multi-master stuff. So I just wanted to call that out. That's a SEP number 72. So thank you very much, DWAS. That's awesome to see that moving forward.
Yeah, it's a bummer he's not here to hear the praise, Gary. That's unfortunate. I'm sure he'll catch it on YouTube, but we'll be sure to let him know. Absolutely. Barney, Gary, do you have any more? Sorry, I didn't
No,
mean to
I'm
cut you
good.
off.
I'm good.
Barney, did you have a question?
Yeah, just around the 3006.3 release this week. First of all, just wanted to say thanks particularly to like Caleb and Megan for helping me do some last minute debugging of package tests on one of my PRs, and also sort of thanks to the various other people in the core team who sort of jumped on and reviewed stuff. What I wanted to ask though about was target dates for releases and freeze dates, because again, I think we talked about this before. I only really knew that the target date was this week because of interaction on some PRs, and I only again knew that there was a freeze for 3006.3 yesterday because of specific PRs I had open. Can we get that information actually sort of regularly published somewhere? Even if it's, a target date is going to be week X of the year, and when we get a bit closer, perhaps a more specific when a freeze is going to happen. Because otherwise it's just not really very visible.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess
we normally try to do that, but with the CVE release, we kind of have to be quiet about the release, and then we were trying to get the next release out as soon as we could after it, so we couldn't be really vocal about the release this time.
That's what I was just about to say. I think the CVE the two CVEs kind of threw a wrench into things, but with that said, I appreciate you saying that, Barney, because it's always something that we need to be focusing on, right? So much appreciated. Anything else from anybody? Any other questions? No? Well, that was easy.
But that's true. I know we do talk about freeze dates on the core team, but I don't know if we're doing a good job making those public. So that is a good point.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think the fear is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, or anybody else on the core team, that the fear is that you release those dates and then something changes. You say, oh yeah, we're going to be doing this on this date, and then something goes sideways, or there's a monkey in the wrench or something like that, and then you have to end up moving everything. So you're constantly shifting the goalposts. Is there a concern there?
It's almost a case of if you do put a post in the sand, something will come to break it.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you schedule your vacation like a month after the release date, and of course the release date will hit it invariably.
I think if there's a reservation, that would be it.
Saying, rather than saying some way out, saying that you're aiming for I don't know, the first 2 weeks in August, but then actually when you get closer and you've actually decided on a code freeze, which you obviously had done for a specific date, and you've already decided that, then that's giving that information a week out or so. It may slip slightly, but also you're not promising with a freeze date with a code freeze date, you're not actually promising a product from that. You're saying that we're not going to accept any more changes, which is a different thing.
You basically want the ballpark number.
Yeah, a ballpark to start with, and then as your idea gets closer. I'm not saying commit to a release date. I'm saying let us know when you've decided you're not going to accept any more PR submissions for specific release. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Should we announce that kind of stuff in this meeting or just in Slack, or what would be the best way to get that out?
Both.
Yeah, I would say both. I would say both. There's no harm there. So that's definitely something that we can, it's a process we can refine, Barney, and we appreciate it,
Okay.
man. That's good feedback. Anybody else?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to echo Barney's sentiments, because even if you guys don't end up freezing on that date, it gets, contributors off their butts to like finish their PRs by a certain time. So it's actually probably
That's a
more
good point.
helpful. It's probably more helpful than it hurts, even if it slips, right? Because it motivates people to get their stuff done if they want it in.
It's not a terrible idea. Right? Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we'll get to work on that. Absolutely. Again, thanks. Who else? Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. All right, very good. Nick, thanks again for the demo. Much appreciated, sir. Everybody go download your package updates for the SALT CVEs. Again, go to repo.saltproject.io to download those. And Shane, if you would, sir, play us out.
All right. So I love elevator jokes because they work on so many levels. I'm actually afraid of elevators, and I've been taking steps to avoid them. And I'm also afraid of speed bumps, but I've been slowly getting over those.
He's here all weekend. You're going to VMware Explorer, you're going to kill it. Thank you, Shane. Good stuff. Let's hear it for Shane. We had lots of claps, lots of applause. There you go. All right, everybody. We will see you on September 7th. Excuse me, September 7th for the next Salt Project Community Open Hour. And until then, get more information at the Salt Project Community Slack channel, and of course, saltproject.io. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.